Welcome, everyone. This is Fernando at Zen Tea House, and I'm here with my friend Greg Perea, health and wellness coach.
Hi, nice to be here.
So, Greg Perea is different from many of the health and wellness coaches because he is ethically sound, knows what he's talking about, and he's got a unique background because he is a type 1 diabetic.
That is correct.
So, are you born with, what's the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
So type 1 is generally onset when you're a child or born with it. So I was diagnosed when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Type 1 is an autoimmune disease that cannot be cured, unfortunately. Type 2 is more of a metabolic syndrome, and so that can be more managed with diet, exercise, healthy solutions. And so I have type 1, so I've been on insulin since I was 8 years old, over 25 years. And
since 8 years old, you've been diabetic.
Correct.
Were you a fat kid growing up?
I was not a fat kid. I used to ask all the time, did your parents give you a lot of candy growing up? I was like, no, that's not how that happened.
How does it happen? Autoimmune diseases. There's a lot of people have autoimmune diseases. I know on Instagram we get messages about that. By the way, rooibos is one of the great teas you can use for autoimmune disease. Eczema, psoriasis, those are autoimmune diseases, right?
Yes.
So what makes diabetes 1 or type 1 diabetes an autoimmune disease? Like, what makes it autoimmune? What is
to be honest with you, it has to do with your immune system. So it's an autoimmune in the sense that it has to do with your immune system. When you have diabetes, you have lack of blood sugar control. It's not good for you.
Nice. Can you check to see if we have any questions or comments? Good. To those who have any questions or comments about autoimmune disease, diabetes, or weight loss, please message or comment below. We are live streaming on Instagram, also on YouTube. YouTube is youtube.com/Zen's Tea House. Now, one of the things that we want to accomplish by doing these live streams is generate informational content that you really won't find online. Greg, you're type 1 diabetic. How much of the information that's out there is accurate online?
You'll find a lot of information. You'll find people that want to go low carb, high protein, keto. It varies. You have to do what kind of works for you. Unfortunately, I had to do my own kind of research and what works for myself, my body, my blood sugars, and that's what has kept me in shape. Because before, I was over 200 pounds about 5.5 years ago.
Really?
And I don't know if you remember me in high school, I was about $150. I was a 3-sport athlete doing lots of, sports, exercise. It wasn't until after college where I gained a lot of weight because I stopped, being as active, and all of that bad eating and things, it caught up to me, unfortunately, in college.
Diabetes type 2 often caused by weight gain. What is a natural way to battle weight loss, to help with weight control? If you are type 1 or type 2 diabetes, does it matter if you are type 1, type 2, how you manage your weight? How does one manage one's weight?
Honestly, it comes down to simple things. Good nutrition, exercise. And I know that's kind of...
What's good nutrition? Does that mean drinking tea?
Yes, absolutely.
No, really. What is, by definition, good nutrition? Because that word good, that could be very much a trend.
Right.
And there's a lot of diets on trending.
Absolutely.
Fasting, don't fasting, waking up early and eating.
Sure.
Going to bed without eating. What is a good health?
Well, it's all a holistic approach. So you have to start with obviously what you're eating. So whole foods, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, teas, herbs, all that. Everything that God has given us, try to stick to that. Organic, pasture raised, all that's good. Avoid the processed stuff, the excess sugars. The sweets late at night, things like that. That's what I try to keep it simple as possible. I was talking to our friend here, and I said, you can just look at the ingredients. If you can't really pronounce half the ones that you're getting from the package or the processed food you're getting, probably shouldn't be consuming it.
What is the most effective way to start weight loss? Like, if you're starting day one, you want to start losing some weight, maybe you're obese, it's hereditary, or it's just you've been on, right after high school you had a baby and you just stopped being as active. what's a great way? Because I'm not a health and wellness coach.
Sure.
I'm an herbalist. How does a person start?
So you got to see what you're already doing. You got to see what you're consuming, what you're eating. Write and actually document what you're doing for about a week. Don't do any activity. Don't increase anything. Write what you're doing for about a week, and then after that, implement some sort of change that's going to help you with that weight loss. Whether that's walking every day, whether that's lifting weights, going outside, doing some sort of physical activity while consuming the same things, and that's going to create your caloric deficit.
So before you can get a proper diagnosis or a self-diagnosis, you have to look at your plate. You have to look at what your lifestyle looks like.
Absolutely.
You know, Greg, we just had a doctor walk in. She works with patients who are really suffering from mental health issues. And one of the things that we've talked about is how people can escape towards food. Food addiction, it's a vice or simply something they run to because they had a bad day. Ice cream can be coffee. It even can be tea. Whatever it is, it's a vice that they run to,
Sure.
and it throws them off. How does a person overcome that vice?
It's hard. You got to start somewhere. You got to start with what your end goal is, and I always begin with the end in mind. If your goal is weight loss, if your goal is reduce stress, okay, what's going to help me to get there, and then carry out those necessary actions. I know it's difficult, but when you start developing these habits and you actually start consuming the foods, it's a cycle, and you have to break the cycle. Once you start doing those things, you feel good, you have energy, and you're going to want to continue to do it more.
Now, I'm going to say something that's probably pretty obvious. Some people may not see it. You and I are both men. You and I are both young, active men. This is different from women who are entering menopause, who are exiting menopause, those who are teenagers. It's different. I want to know, we're on Instagram, also on YouTube. Please comment. What do you use to break your vices? Whether it's food, whether it's binge watching on Netflix and social media, or if I may dare say, that unhealthy relationship. We all have unhealthy relationships. Sometimes the most unhealthy relationships are the ones we think we need to have.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
yes, I genuinely want to know that. The comments that you leave will help us to generate more content. One of the things that we like to ask people is, what works for you? Because I see a lot of the data from the analytics. We did a live stream on weight loss multiple times, and then we get messages asking, can you do a tea for libido, sex drive? And we did a live stream, that was back in 2015.
Sure.
No one commented, but it got the most views and the most shares.
Yep.
Don't believe me? We redid the video on YouTube, top of the list.
Wow.
And I can see the analytics, so don't be afraid, don't be scared to leave your comment. You can make it anonymous. I think that's one of the crazy, ugly things about social media is you put out information out there and hide behind it, which that has its own psychological issues. But weight loss is psychological. Weight loss is mental.
It is.
And part of being holistic. What is holistic?
Holistic encompasses everything that you're doing, things that you're putting in your mind, things that you're seeing, things that you're hearing, things that you're telling yourself every single day. If you wake up in the morning saying, "Oh, I'm fat and I'm lazy," okay, then you're going to carry out those actions. If you affirm yourself and say, "Hey, I'm going to get out of bed, I'm going to work out." I used to do something, so I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. That wasn't a habit that I had growing up. So what I did was I read a book. It's called Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've ever read it. But basically, you affirm what you're going to do the next morning, and you literally tell yourself, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to exercise, it's going to be good for my health, I'm going to start off. And he goes through these series of routines. Maybe it's a gratitude journal. You wake up 5 minutes and write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. That encompasses all of the holistic approach. It's not just what you're consuming into your mouth, but it's also what you're consuming into your mind, your thoughts, what you're listening to. That's part of the holistic approach.
Jesse, do we have any comments? Okay,
Awesome.
One of the challenges that I've seen with those affirmations is there's a fear behind it.
Mm.
I'm afraid to let myself down. And if that's just one of the struggles. And that's why some people get health coaches, right?
Sure.
You're a health coach.
Sure.
What are some of the struggles that you've helped people overcome holistically, naturally?
Absolutely. So we had a friend that was overweight, and to be honest, she could barely get out of bed in the morning. She had very trouble just walking down to the end of her block. So we took her under our wing. We coached her. We were there for her every step of the way, every call, check-in, text. We were there encouraging her. And long story short, I think she lost about 40 pounds. She was able to be active again. She started swimming and hiking. And she always tells this story of she was part of a young adult church group, and they would always do this hike every year. And she wouldn't even go up the mountain because she knew she wasn't going to make it. She knew she wasn't going to come down. And so I remember the day she sent us a text message. It's a picture of her on top of the mountain. She's like, I did it. I'm like, praise the Lord. It was beautiful to see.
Nice. Can you move that back? That is beautiful. I see a number of challenges when it comes to weight loss and diabetes. I have a friend who's an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
Very successful influencer. Actually, I have a few friends that are influencers. But this particular influencer was telling me about how he is in the gym and it's quite intimidating for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's a little older than us, a little heavier than us. And he said, Fernando, it's tough trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Because you see people climbing that mountain. You see people ripped, bench pressing 300 pounds running. And it doesn't help if they're always posting themselves on social media. I know because I go to the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And I see the same guys taking pictures of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other issue. What I'm trying to say is this. Whether you are just starting or you've been doing it for a long time, we all have our own struggles. And that's one of the things about being holistic and meeting people where they're at, is it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Correct.
Your blood type is different. Your age, your gender, your cultural and environmental background have an effect on our psyche, which affects how we lose weight.
Exactly.
In our herbalism class, we cover 3 topics: how to manage anxiety, mental health; 2, arthritis, inflammation, how to deal with pain naturally; and number 3, how to boost all 3 ways naturally. And the latter on how to boost your immune system naturally, your psyche will make or break your success when it comes to getting healthy, when it comes to getting into shape. Even breaking past that unhealthy, toxic relationship. By the way, if you haven't figured it out, I think a lot of people, this is what I'm saying, a lot of people have an unhealthy relationship for social media. I just putting it out there. I did a video on, there's a live stream on YouTube. By the way, we're live streaming on YouTube, so you want to see my videos, it's the second video on the YouTube live playlist where I talk about 3 things about health and wellness that you will not find online.
Wow. Gotta check that out.
And one of them was taking a break from the phone. I was actually talking to her client today. She's 70. I'm not going to mention. Don't want to get too specific because she might be watching. And she was talking about her struggle with getting past. And she can't commit. And as I was explaining to her the psyche, that sometimes you just can't do it alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I told her to call someone in her circle of influence to keep her accountable, and then to check in for 2 weeks every day.
Yeah.
Because it's when it comes to weight loss, managing diabetes, or just getting to that next level on your health and wellness journey, it's about your habits. And establishing those habits take time.
Absolutely.
Greg, is there anything you want to end with?
No, just a word of encouragement to wherever you're at in your journey, just know you take the next step. Whether you take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, always keep moving forward. Realize that it's not a straight line. Sometimes it's a roller coaster. You're going to have your ups and downs. When I had my 50-pound weight loss, it wasn't just straight down. I would lose 10, gain 2, lose 5, gain 1. If you know that going in that you're going to have some setbacks, but knowing that you can overcome those setbacks, and if you need someone to keep you accountable, my door is always open. Reach out to Fernando.
Message me and I'll get you in contact with Greg. And if you're interested in talking with one of the doctors or herbalists that Zen Tea House works with, visit zenstea.com. And again, if you want to learn more about herbalism, go to the website and click on the herbalism class. Thanks, Jesse. Stay alive. All right.
We have a comment. It says great information.
Thank you. God bless.
Is that from you, Hannah?
No.
All right. You two guys, thank you so much. 17 minutes and 22 seconds long. We want this guy's information, Greg Perea. We will leave his information on the like and share.